What's going on, everybody? Wanted to kind of give everybody a tutorial, or I guess more or less something you should expect when you go to do a set of harnesses on a CFMOTO Sport 4. I couldn't really find anything out there on YouTube pertaining to this particular model. You can find them for the 2-seaters, but the 4-seaters are kind of non-existent. I don't know if just people just don't do it or whatnot, but I myself did not know how I was going to do it. It kind of looked, I don't want to say hard. It just, I wasn't quite sure because I haven't seen it done on this particular model. I went ahead and bought a set of Team MSC harnesses. I got them on sale for Labor Day, and you know, first look at them, they look great. They fit great as far as, you know, being comfortable and how they sit in this particular machine. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I wouldn't hesitate to buy another set in the future if I ever needed to. Anyway, so let's kind of go over what I did for the fronts on this model, and then what I ended up having to do on the rear, which is the main reason for this video. On the front side, on the passenger side, this whole seat does not come out. You'll have to take just the seat bottom out, which is you just pull up on it and it'll come out, and then it makes it easier to access these bolts here on both sides. You don't have to, because you can access them from the rear down there for this side, and the same goes for that side, but you end up having to take out the center console in the rear, which is push pins and Torx bit screws, and then this pops out after you take off the cover here, and then you can access, you know, the bolts and nuts inside here, and it makes things a lot easier. Even just taking out the seat bottom made it easier to do everything from that side, so I'm not contorted in ways I don't want to be. The side pieces here, because you cannot get to the nuts, are located behind these plastics here. It does take a few Torx screws and a push pin here, and it makes it easier if you just go ahead and take out the screws here and go ahead and remove these Allen screws. I was not able to do that on this side because someone from the factory ugga-dugged this thing in here and it is not coming out, and I'm not messing with it to try and remove it. So it made it a little bit more difficult to get this piece out. I had to maneuver it, you know, without breaking it. Obviously, you would think it would just fall out, but it doesn't do that without probably removing other things. I didn't need to remove the whole panel. I just needed to be able to get to, you know, the nuts down there, to be able to take those out and then reinstall. On the driver's side, everything came off here pretty quick, and then I was able to pull this back and get done what I needed to get done for the fronts. And then, you know, these are for universal seat belts, so, you know, you can loop them. And so that's what I did back here. I haven't done anything with the excess yet. I'm still trying to get everything installed, but I kind of wanted to stop where I was at because of the rear section. The front, I ended up leaving this in because of the wiring that goes to here that lets everything know your seat belt is plugged in. And I didn't want to just hide it and not use it, because I think this thing is limited on power in reverse and in drive, when their seatbelt is not detected of being plugged in or latched. And I ended up using the stock deal because Team MSC Parts does not sell one of these for this specific unit. I think you can buy them for Can-Am and Polaris's, but this specific unit doesn't. So it's not difficult to take apart. There is a black plastic piece here that I still have on this one. You can see this piece right here. If you pry up with a screwdriver and get it past this little piece right here, it comes off, and then you can get that slid through, or this end slid through that piece and then slid through here, and then it, you know, comes out. So this is just going to stay in here. It's not hindering me, bothering me, so we'll just keep it in there, and you know, everything will be good. As far as the front goes, that's pretty much it. I would suggest not putting this piece right here back on until you get to the rear. I made the mistake of going ahead and putting everything on the driver's side back together before I did this. Before I did this side, and I actually started on the passenger side and whatnot. So I did go ahead and put the center console back in because I was done with this side and this side for the rear and the fronts. So I just went ahead and did that so I didn't lose any pieces, and just put everything back together. As far as the rear outsides go, the plastics that you'll need to remove, or take loose rather, you know, you'll need to be able to take the torque screw out of here, here, and here, and here, and then you'll need to remove this one and take this little cap out and just set it aside, and that gives you access to that bolt head down here. And then you have to take these loose and kind of move them out of the way a little bit. And then there's Torx bits. I don't know if I can try and get you a good deal on the bottom here so you can kind of see. So there's Torx bits in spots like 1, 2, and 3, and then the rest are fender screws to be able to remove the fender. You'll have that one, they just keep going up all the way around, and then you'll have an inner fender liner on the passenger side. And the inner fender liner, which I have right here, is all held in with all these push pins here that you'll have to remove. And, you know, some of them got marred up because the mud had dried and made it very difficult to get these out. Anything on the inside come out no problem, no marring or anything like that. And I was actually able to use my plastic ones so I didn't damage them. But I did have to end up using a set of metal ones, this style right here, that flips, and then the push pin pliers or whatever. These helped, both of these helped with the rear. It took some wiggling and finagling to get them out without ruining them. But I actually do have a whole new kit that I bought from Harbor Freight that actually has those in there. So, you know, I got 20 extra pieces. If I did damage something, I can put it back together. once you get the fender off on the passenger side and the inner fender liner out of it, you can then pull back the bottom a pretty good ways. You don't even with the top on, it's kind of, sorry, I'm holding a phone. I'm not a professional YouTuber here. You can pull that back, and then you can pull this back and get even more space to be able to get behind here and move it out of the way, so you can get a wrench up in there and take out that nut, which is very difficult. You can see all three of these holes down through here. You could probably use this last one if you have a long enough wrench that articulates, you know, with a head that, you know, bends and whatnot. You might be able to get it through there without taking off all the rear plastics. I don't have that tool, so I didn't do it. I just ended up taking out, you know, the push pins and the screws. It's a pain to be able to blindly get all that in there, because you're going to have to do it one way with one hand, and then try and reach around, you know, and hold this at the same time just to be able to start the nut. You can get the washer and the crush washer, whatever, and then the lock washer on first, and then, you know, blindly do the nut. I don't know, besides having a second person, you know, which might even help, just to help hold it with a socket wrench and go ahead and get it started and, you know, tighten it up or whatever. That would help on that side. And I would imagine that the process is going to be pretty much repeated on the driver's side, with the exception of this cover right here, because you don't have that on the driver's side. It's open, you can get to it. But the plastics will have to come off. The only difference on the driver's side is you don't have an inner fender liner. You only have the outer fender itself that attaches itself to this plastic. You know, I tried first taking just these two out and moving it, but it wasn't going to gain me anything, because I needed to come through here to be able to set my wrench in there. And then once I set the wrench in there, there's actually 2 bolts in there for something else down there, and I just kind of rested it on that, and then I was able to reach underneath there with this hand and hold it while I took it out, and then put everything back in basically the same way. As far as attaching the loop part of it, I just have this hung up here right now, but it's going to go on this bar right here. I will have to take this windshield out, but it's easy. It's just, I got to loosen these up. You turn them, and then the window comes out. And that'll allow me to adjust it the way I needed to adjust it, just like I did the fronts, so that everything's, you know, good to go. It's going to be very difficult to do that and try and hold the seat here, and it's going to be a pain. It's going to be faster for me to take the windshield out, you know. So if you have one, just go ahead and be prepared. You're going to probably have to remove that to make it easier on yourself, or maybe you won't. But in my case, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. The driver's side seat, I just went ahead and took it completely out. It is basically 4 bolts, you know, 2 in the front and then 2 in the rear. I just went ahead and did that. It made it easier for me to be able to work and get this. Like I said, you can hold that nut on the back side from behind everything, so you may not have to take this out. I just took the seat out to make it easier on myself. And as you can see, I went ahead and put all this back together again, and then I shouldn't have, because you know, this down in here I have to take that back out to be able to spread everything. I'm going to try and do it on this side without taking the top part out and see if I can do it, and maybe that will help. But as you can see, I still will have to take all these screws out for the fender, and I think there's two, they're just screws. These are 1, 2, looks like 3 push pins, and 1, 2 screws underneath, and then the fender should come right out. Beyond that, as far as these go, I'm really impressed with the Team MSC seatbelts and how comfortable they are. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. For what they cost, they're already pretty cheap. It's $79 a piece, and they're well made. These are metal, and they're easy adjustment because these are spring loaded right here, and they flip up, and then when you go to cinch them back down, they just pull right down. And then the sides are basically they just pull and release. So if you need to readjust it, you can. I'm impressed. I like them, and I would not hesitate to put them in something else or another machine in the future. Anyway, that's about it as far as an installation goes. I did set my kids in here to kind of see where it needed to be before I took the seats out, and kind of gauged, just like I did with myself, on I kind of lined them up with the marks here, either up or down, depending on them, where it should come. So that way I don't have to, once I get it set, I'll probably, this afternoon when I get out of school, I'll probably have them, sit back in here leave the windshield out for now, and go ahead and, get it adjusted. So I only got to do it one time. On a side note, while I was in here, I went ahead and checked a few things, like my relays. I made sure that everything was pushed in, fuses and everything, just from riding and whatnot. And, you don't have to do stuff like that, but that's just me and what I like to do. As far as while I was in here, I went ahead and checked the trans fluid, and then on this side I went ahead and checked the air filter from the last time that I was out riding. I hadn't done that since after I washed it off, even though it's still nasty, but these things always seem dirty, no matter what. So yeah, that's that. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, and I'll get them answered if there's something I may have missed or something you have a question about. But if you want to get a pair of these, Team MSC is the way to go. It's teammsc.com. I don't really mind giving them a plug because it's nice stuff and whatnot. These seatbelts don't come with instructions. You kind of have to pay attention on how the stuff came out, and then you can kind of understand how it goes back in. I'll give you an example of, let's see, the bolts here. It comes with 2 bolts per side, but you get the bolt, and obviously that goes over the seat belt, and then these parts, this will go on first, then your lock washer, then your nut on the opposite side, and that allows the seat belt part to swivel and whatnot. Everything's packaged nice and got here pretty quick too. I'm probably like 2.5 hours away from them, maybe. So I got here quick. I did end up picking up a set of these quick disconnects for the sway bars, front and rear. I'm not sure how they attach just by looking at them on this particular deal, which way I'll go with it, or have to go with it rather. There's no instructions on these either. But I will figure it out and probably make a separate video on that. And then that way, you know, it's there if anyone ever needs it. So, yeah, if, like I said, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll get back with you if I can. And, yeah, so thanks for watching.